On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, we're going to recap Cryptapulco, which is day 4 of an Acapulco. So let's get into it, shall we? Same again, schedule didn't stick, different speakers, different flipping schedule timings and so on. I think the first person to come on was Simon Dixon, who was supposed to be in the afternoon but ended up being first. So Simon Dixon of Bank to the Future fame, he was talking about scaling and how it's essential if the whole world is going to be able to use cryptocurrencies in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So we all know that. And he wasn't going to focus on, SegWit versus big blocks, yada yada. But he was talking about the various differences between Bitcoin and banking, such as let banks own the money deposited in them, right? Bitcoin is the first scarce digital asset that you own at all times. Deposit money in a bank, you only have the right to redemption. And the chances are they will give you it back, but maybe not, depending on the circumstances. So he was like, banks always invest in the safest asset class with the highest return, which has traditionally been real estate. So they're parking the money in real estate, right? Another thing he said was that monetary policy is centrally planned in banking, right? So it's dictated by the government versus Bitcoin encourages saving, right? Because there's a predictable monetary policy. And as time goes on, everyone's going to want their piece of the 21 million Bitcoins that are scarcely issued, right? And Simon believes, that Bitcoin's key feature is that it will be the only coin which can be a digital store of value and the reserve currency for the whole cryptocurrency space. So that was his real thing. And Bitcoin is going to be the digital gold. That's what he believes its feature is. Then if we want to do, say, Bitcoin as cash, then Bitcoin Cash can take on that responsibility and tweak the way it works so that it is more suitable as a cash, right, than Bitcoin, which will be the digital gold store of value type of thing. And actually, I spent a good amount of time, like an hour and a half, on this day in the sort of press room where the crypto show had their whole radio set up, and they were Facebook live streaming and so on. So I went in there and had a little chat with the guys, and Jeffrey Tucker was being interviewed, and then Simon Dixon was being interviewed. And I was saying to him, don't you think that's the problem though, which is that in Bitcoin, he was saying Bitcoin has a key feature of not having a leader, right, and no central, benevolent dictator to depict the direction, which is why it can be the only sort of trusted, if you like, store of value and reserve currency. And I said, okay, the flip side to that though is that having a leader allows them to dictate what the coin is, what's its purpose. The problem with Bitcoin is that no one can agree that it is digital gold, and until consensus on that can be reached, there's still going to be all this friction and people pulling in opposite directions with the way it should develop. So that's Simon Dixon thinks it should be digital gold, but that's not enough to get all the community to agree. But perhaps that's one of the purposes of Simon doing public speeches and putting forward an argument for why Bitcoin should be digital gold. So he's doing his bit to, persuade people that Bitcoin is digital gold. So all more power to him. This guy, Doug Scribner, spoke. His talk was called My Journey to Ethereum. And it's Ethereum like it's private jets that you pay for with cryptocurrency, basically. And then he's working on fractional jet ownership and all this kind of stuff. And he's catering to the newfound crypto millionaires who, what was it, hashtag? It was like hashtag goodbye TSA or something like that, because there's no security checks if you're the only one on the plane, right? So that's pretty sweet. So yeah, he did a nice presentation, talked about some of his personal history, and I'm going to look into Ethereum. It looks kind of interesting. And it was Ethereum that flew in the Wu-Tang Clan members who then performed at one of the the music events that was on during an Acapulco. So we had Jason King also do a talk. He's the founder. I knew I recognized the guy, but until he said that he was the founder of Satoshi Forest, I didn't remember who he was. So you can look up Satoshi Forest. That wasn't really what he was here to talk about. He was here to talk about his blockchain academy that he's got. He showed all these statistics about how it says here in my notes, for every 16 jobs there are in the blockchain space for developers specifically, there's only one candidate available. So there's a gross scarcity of talent you know, for building all these blockchain projects and so on. And most, in his research, a whole bunch of Fortune 500 companies are looking for engineers that they just can't get. So this is one of the major things holding back the world of cryptocurrencies and developing to the point where it can reach its full potential, because there just aren't enough developers to build it fast enough. So of course now Jason's going to solve that problem with his blockchain academy. I think he says he's in league in cahoots with Arizona University, was it? Don't quote me on that. You'll have to look it up. But yeah, so then I started to train developers how to be blockchain developers, and they're also going to start teaching people how to become software developers, and then, you know, give them the add-on to being a blockchain developer on top of that. So if you're just a complete newbie right now and want to get into it, 2-year course, right? 1 year of academic learning, 1 year of on-the-job training, and boom, you'll be a software developer in no time. So that's pretty sweet. They're also doing an ICO and so on. They have this, what they call an advisory node system, where you stake some of your coins and so on. And I'm going to, oh, well, that's just another note I put there, that they have a token sale, and I'm going to look into that to see exactly how that works. Because they say that they've got this process of burning the coins whenever they receive them as payment or something, which I didn't quite get that from the talk, but I'll look that up and see exactly how that works. Because if it's a continually, you know, decreasing supply through burn, sounds interesting to me. I think that was the only other talk I went to. I missed Roger Veer's talk because I was in the crypto show booth. I missed Chuck Williams from Dash talking about time for ... whatever that means. That was the name of his talk. Jeff Berwick was supposed to speak in the morning, but he didn't. He closed the event instead. And then, yeah, Simon Dixon. Oh, Mike Maloney spoke. And so did, who's this fellow? Oh, yeah, no, Amaury Seychelles, which is the lead developer of Bitcoin Cash. I didn't stick around for his talk because it was very, very hard to follow. Not because it was technical, just because he's not a very good presenter. So I couldn't follow him, and I stepped out for a break. But then I came back from Mike Maloney, who did a talk about, well, it's called All About Crypto. But I can't remember what his talk was about, really. This is the problem I've had with the whole event. I was taking notes when I found a good point to make, but generally what I do is just focus on the presentation and then retain the key details from those presentations. But the same theme keeps coming up for me, which is the information isn't particularly actionable, right? Because if you don't take anything away that you can then apply, I question the purpose of the event in the first place, right? Of course, because this is in an idyllic setting and so on, it's a good excuse to have a nice holiday to Mexico and spend some time with some free thinkers and so on. However, that's nice and all, but if we actually want to make progress, then we actually need to take away stuff that we can apply and do, right? So these ideas can be spread and they can actually be manifest in the world rather than just being spoken about. So that keeps coming up for me as a whole thing. And again, maybe I've got it wrong in the sense that these types of events are not meant to have that kind of information in them, because I'm always coming at it from a teaching point of view and an educational point of view, and I've got this hook into it has to be practical, right? That is the thing I'm kind of obsessed with, that you should be able to do something after a presentation or a lesson or whatever that you couldn't do before, right? And I didn't really get that from well, probably any of the presentations. Excuse me. The only thing I can show as an example is my presentation from Crypto Investing 2017 from Norway, right? I did that talk about decentralized exchanges as fast as possible. And that's kind of an example. I had that mindset. I was like, I actually went through like a dozen different exchanges and then explained how they work and the pros and cons, that gave people a whole smorgasbord of choices, so that when they went away, they not only understood the difference between centralized and decentralized exchange, but they also had 12 actual services that they could go and find out about, test themselves, and so on, right? So they got a discovery out of that, and I shared the pros and cons of each. So that is more closely aligned with my philosophy of giving people the information they can actually use, right? So there we go. That was pretty much it. Yeah, that's all I got out of yesterday. I did also have a little interview with a guy from Dash Red, which I'll upload as well. But other than that, that is all for today, guys. So if you like this episode, go ahead, hit that like button. And if you're new around here, get subscribed. And if you would like access to my very best material, such as my structured online courses that take you step by step through how to do stuff, then check out my website. It's cryptoversity.com. From there, you can click on courses and take any one of the 4 online courses that I've created for your educational delight. Alright guys, that is all for today. I'll be back with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.